Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Sorry we had like a week of no uploads here on this channel. That's because I uploaded like 5 videos on this game, The First Descendant, and really enjoyed my time with that. Back to making Destiny content pretty regularly again. In fact, we've been doing live streams, did a couple of Destiny live streams this week, which is great, including, by the way, some Raid Sherpa runs with KJ Hovey. So we live streamed that. We took a couple of Salvation's Edge versions all the way through the raid and across the finish line, got them some great loot. They had a good time learning all the encounters, all the mechanics. It was great, and I think we're going to do more of that. So if you want to get involved in some Destiny raids, hey, follow the Twitch channel, mine or Hovey's. I'll put a link in the description to those channels, and we'd love to see you around sometime, maybe do some raiding with you. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about some comparison things between the First Descendant and Destiny. Is there anything that Destiny could learn from this game? And I think, you know, in retrospect, with my time spent with the First Descendant, between the full launch, which I have about 60 hours into, and then the pre-launch closed alpha and the betas, I've got, close to 100 hours in all of that stuff, because I did some sponsored work with them as well back then. I've had a lot of time with this game. There's 3 things that stand out to me as being 3 things that I think this game does a little bit better than Destiny. Now, let me be clear about something. I do not think that the First Descendant is a better game than Destiny. I'm definitely not saying that. I don't think it's close. I think Destiny overall is a better video game than the First Descendant. There are just 3 areas, 3 key areas in which I think First Descendant just really shone through, and it made me wish we had these same features in Destiny. So that's what I want to hit. Now, the First Descendant to me is a game that's like, what if the game put all of its skill points into being a looter? It was like, you know what? Should we put some skill points in narrative and story direction? Like, nah, we don't need to do that. We got Karen down in the HR department, was a writing major for 2 years before she switched to communications, so she could probably handle the writing, right? Like, you have bad guys in this game. I'll give a little bit of credit because they're Korean developer, but the names of the bad guys, like one of the big bad guys, his name is freaking Greg. Like, it's just Greg, man. Hey, did you fight Greg today? You want to go farm Greg? This futuristic sci-fi game, you're fighting Greg and Carol and Karen, and it's like, bro, we couldn't have come up with some better names for these guys. Anyways, they also did not put any skill points into things like music either. They were probably like, oh, there's plenty of artists on Fiverr. Let's literally put all of our skill points into being a looter. And I mean, it kind of worked. I tell people all the time, I think the First Descendant is the best bad game I've ever played. Because it's where it's good, it's so good, but where it's bad, it's like, man, that's really bad. But I actually really enjoy playing it. It's very addictive and cathartic. But the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to this game that they do better, and that is that they have a much better in-game database for all of their loot. And you can even search for stuff. Like, you compare it to Destiny, there is no comparison. But let's say I want to find literally anything in the game. Maybe I'm working on a build and I'm like, man, I wish I had some more for Freyna. She's like this toxic character. She covers the battlefield in acid pools, and she spreads poison damage, sort of like a plague throughout the the ads on the field. Think of her as sort of like a plague doctor of sorts. Let's say I want to lean into that more. There's mods, there's external components, there's weapons, all that can tie into this build. Let's say I want to put on some mods, and I really want to have toxic damage, and I type it in. Now, I'm going to see all these mods here that do things for my toxic build. Let's look at this one. So when attacking enemies inflicted with poison, my gun gets an 8% boost, and then I can level this up. All these hashtags here, I can put resources into this mod to level it up, so that 8% could go up to like 30% maybe. That's huge for a build that I'm constantly spreading poison through. I want to do that. So not only can I search to find this toxic stuff that I want, not only that, but here's another cool thing I can do. See how it says acquisition information? How do I acquire this item? Maybe I see something on this list and I say, that sounds incredible. Where do I go to get it? Well, I'm gonna hit F on it. And now I get an entire list of every place in the game that can drop this mod. You know what I mean? Like, Destiny doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. Let's say I'm like, maybe I'm late to the punch, I'm just scrolling through the collections and I see the Braytech werewolf, and I'm like, that gun looks super cool. Oh, where does it come from? What do I do to get it? I click on it in collections. There's nothing. I can't see potential rolls. I don't see where it drops from. I would have no idea just looking at collections where I'd have to go to get this thing, or if it's even possible anymore, because the game's, you know, been through so many iterations and sunsetting and different activities have come and gone. I don't even know if this is like a seasonal thing or connected to an event, which it is. You would have no way of knowing that, right? But here, First Descendant will show you every place you can go. And it doesn't stop there. Let's say I decide, cool, I'd like to go farm one of these events, one of these activities. I'll click on it. It'll immediately pull up the map for me and show me exactly where it is. Look, Toxic Conductor. And now it goes even further and says, it'll tell me, this mission should take you 5 minutes or less to complete. There's a 5% drop rate specifically on the item you want. I know everything I could possibly want to know, including what I should bring to the table, because in the lower left it says, this is the location. Here's what you're going to come up against. Enemies that appear have their electric attack increased by 30%, so you may want to spec for electricity resist if you want to farm this activity. But enemies are also susceptible to toxic attacks, which is what I am. Now I know exactly what I should bring to the table. Everything I could possibly want to know, I now know. All because I asked the question, what do I want to add to my build? And it works with everything. If there's like a new quote-unquote exotic weapon that you're after, you're like, I want this. Here's what you need. Here are all the items you need. I've actually collected 3 of these already. I just need to get 1 more. Hit acquisition information. Here's where you go to get this last component that you need. Everything I could want to know, I know. Because the complete database is updated with extremely accurate information. I never have to go to YouTube or to the internet and type in, how do I get, where do I find, where can I farm? It's all here. That is awesome, and I really wish Destiny did that. Some itty bitty amount of credit here, to be fair. Destiny does do this in collections. Well, it's not technically collections, but it's in the collections area. It does this with catalysts, so if you wanted to find out where to get a specific catalyst for a gun, for an exotic, you can look that up, and it will tell you, you know, where to go to get that thing. It won't pull it up for you or give you any further detail than that, but at least it tries to point you in the right direction. But man, I would really love if Destiny had a system like this. The second thing I think that the First Descendant does really, really well is that it makes old content that you breezed through the first time, it gives you plenty of reason to go back to those activities. So it's sort of keeping other content relevant, where in Destiny, you know, we start here in Kingston in the First Descendant. This is the little world map here. It's just the little intro region. Well, here's the thing. On your first time through, you breeze through this stuff. These missions here on the map, you breeze through them, you wrap around, you do these, you run an operation, this one here, you keep going until you move on to the final operation that takes you on to the next world region. Pretty simple. Destiny, you do a similar thing. You know, you were to load into a new patrol space that's connected to the new DLC or the new storyline you're doing. You complete some patrols, some basic missions, you work your way through it. How often do you actually go back to these locations? Like, when was the last time you were just out on patrol in this area of the EDZ where there's that Cabal ship that's sort of beached there? I can't even remember. Most of the patrol spaces in this game I have not physically seen in years. And you know what that does? It actually makes it harder for new players because there's no people in these public spaces. Well, it's not like that with the First Descendant. Let's say you're a new player coming through here, and some of this content is kind of difficult for you. You don't have a lot of gear yet. Well, guess what? Here, let me put this on normal mode. Boom. Let's say you're on normal mode. You know, you get to your very first operation. You've only done a few missions. I mean, it's scaled so it'll be doable for you. No problem. But at the same time, look at these rewards here. Long distance maneuvering is something that when you are 60 hours into the game, if you don't have it yet, you're going to want it. You might come back here and farm this. You're going to be right alongside level 5 players, level 6 players who need a little helping hand, and now you've got people with 60 hours into the game. They're returning to farm Reload Insight, Magazine Compulsive. This amorphous material pattern 003 has a number of different things connected to it loot-wise that are important later in the game. So you're going to be coming back to even these basic missions. Look at this, Electric Priority. Maybe you're trying to make an end game build. You're level 40 with level 100 gear, but you don't have Electric Priority, so you need to come back to literally the second mission in the game, and you're farming it alongside other new players. So it makes the world feel much more populated, because there's everywhere you go, there are other players, other descendants flexing their builds, trying to get really important loot for what they're working on. Maybe they're trying to unlock a new character. A lot of times you have to come back to early game stuff in order to do that. You just don't get that with Destiny, right? We go through these patrol spaces. I couldn't tell you, honestly, the last time I loaded into Neomuna outside of like a mission that took me there briefly, and that's it. Like, I'm not there doing those public events or farming those activities anymore. But because there is so much loot in this game, they're able to spread it out across all these regions, all these patrol spaces, all these basic patrol missions, all these public events. There's just so much going on. So they do a much better job of keeping early game content relevant, so you don't just outgrow it within the first hour and never return to it. And that takes me to my third point, the third thing that I think the First Descendant does better than Destiny. And that is the mod system in this game. So with Destiny, you really have a pretty basic mod system. If you were to open up a weapon, for example, my Indebted Kindness here, and I wanted to see what kind of mods I wanted to use, I have just a few options. And none of them have the ability to sort of be better. I can't put materials into them to enhance them, to make them greater. There is an enhancement system, obviously, with some of the crafted weapons, and now you can enhance perks on older guns now too, but it's really basic. You just put a little bit of currency in them one time, they get ascended to their enhanced version. Well, the First Descendant is not like that. Let's say, for example, I want to see what kind of mods I want to put on this gun. These are all of my options. Well, yeah. It's a lot more than Destiny mods. What do I want my gun to do? Do I want it to do electric damage, convert some of the physical damage it does into electricity damage? Do I want it to give me buffs when I kill somebody who's affected by electricity? Do I want it to have more accuracy? Do I want it to have a faster rate of fire? Do I want to have it have quicker reload speeds? Do I want it to do chill effects? Lots of trade-offs as well, where it'll sacrifice one thing. Like here, my fire rate's going to get decreased a little bit, but I'm going to get a huge chunk of just extra chill damage on top. And I can stack, I've got a whole bunch of mod capacity here that I can stack a bunch of stuff on and level up the base version of it. So now I'm getting 32% more firearm attack on this gun because I leveled it up a bunch. Like, come on, there's just so much customization here and build potential, all because the mod system is just wildly superior, much more customizable. So for me, I just think that when it comes to the looter side of things, the First Descendant is just basically superior. There's so much more customization that can go into your build, and because of that, it's forcing you to go all over the world that they created to farm all kinds of different items and components for researching. Sometimes the thing you want, I've seen a lot of people complain about the grind of Kvastov, and I'm not gonna water that down. Like, Kvastov was a bit of a grind to unlock. There's no doubt about it. But you compare that to this game where you're like, I want to get a new exotic weapon, and because this new exotic weapon requires 4 different components, so you have to research each and every one of those. You now have to, for each component, it's like, okay, let's cross this off the list. I want the first component. I need to go farm this activity for an hour to get this rare material to drop. I'm going to take that material to a second encounter where I have to fight this boss, and then it's going to drop this generator that I can plug that material into to try and convert it. I got a 30% chance that it's going to convert into the item that I need for my gun. If it doesn't work, I go back to the first encounter. I farm it again until the material drops, take it back to the boss, put it in the generator. This time I got what I needed. Excellent. I need some extra currency to go farm. I couple it with the thing I crafted. Boom, now I have 1/4 of the gun created. Let's move on to the second thing. And it's the same thing. You have to go here, do this thing, grind that thing, get that drop, take it to this location, convert it into this other material. And all of it is given to you very clearly via the database, so you know exactly what you need to do at all times to move on to the next step. You don't have to look up guides, tutorials, nothing like that. So to craft one exotic item, this Python SMG that I needed in this game for my toxic build, it took me 16 hours of gameplay. I'm not exaggerating there. 16 hours of gameplay because my drop rates were not great. But you know what? It was cathartic. I had a clear goal in mind. I had a checklist to go down, and I was checking off things as I went, and it took a very long time to do it. But once I got that item, I was like really excited to have it, start working it into my build. And then the gun's even just dramatically customizable on top of that. I can upgrade it, level it up, put new mods into it. There's just, the sky's the limit. So all this to say, I think that Destiny is a far superior game than the First Descendant is. There's no doubt about that to me. But one thing is true. The First Descendant put a lot of effort into their looting system, and there's a lot of grindable content here. There's a lot of reason to go back and play content that you may have over-leveled and left behind. It's still relevant. It's still desirable. You still feel you're compelled to go do those things, which forces even more community interaction because we're all farming a lot of these same encounters alongside new players, whether they're 2 hours in or 200 hours in. And there's a mod system to boot that makes it so that build crafting is much more compelling and has lots of different options. You know, you think right now in Destiny, a lot of times, like when you pick a subclass, you've already chosen the sort of base model for how your gameplay loop is going to look. But in this game, it could be that you pick one character and you've got a lot of different options. It could be crowd control, it could be support, it could be, like for example, talking about Freyna, you know, she has this a transcendent, extremely highly rare drop that will convert one of her abilities into basically a means of giving acid armor to teammates that are nearby her. So many options. I wish Destiny offered that same depth of customizability as well. And I think that we have a lot of build crafting in Destiny, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times you just fall into these really like set metas. This is how you have to play a Strand Hunter right now. If you're going to play Strand Hunter, this is what you do. You know what I mean? And a lot of that customizability is gone and irrelevant. Anyways, that's the video. Some things I learned playing the First Descendant that I wish Destiny would pick up on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching the video today, and we're going to be diving back into the Destiny grind after just a week off. Thanks for letting me take a week to play something else and upload on my Variety channel. I appreciate your patience. And hopefully we'll see you in some raid content in the very near future as we continue to do our Raid Sherpa streams. Me and KJ Hobie, should be a good time. Hey, be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.